My sister-in-law used the baby swapping system to take away my son. I'm not crazy, but her entire family has truly gone mad, because she doesn't know that I have been reborn, in my previous life, because the child in my womb had severe cerebral palsy. It ended with my family being destroyed. In this life, I was blessed with a healthy daughter, and the whole family spoiled her beyond measure. This is a world where one can only have one child in a lifetime, and the child's gender is disclosed. In my previous life, my sister-in-law and I were pregnant at the same time. As we left the gender notification room, she snatched my gender notification slip from me. "You're not having a boy." Immediately after, I heard my sister-in-law say to something called the system, "The information is incorrect. Luna is carrying a girl. Terminate the gender swap system immediately." The system advised against it. "Host, if you terminate the gender swap system for Luna now, the child in her womb will develop severe cerebral palsy, leading to the family's ruin. It would be better to continue the gender swap. Both you and she will have a healthy child." However, my sister-in-law Linda immediately retorted, "Who cares if she gives birth to a child with cerebral palsy? I'd be thrilled if her family falls into chaos and ruin." System, hurry up and terminate the gender swap. The thought that I used the only gender swap system on her makes me so frustrated. I wish Luna would just die right now. The system asked again, "If we terminate now, that child will be born with severe cerebral palsy in the next life. Are you really not going to show some kindness and reconsider?" Linda was furious. "Cerebral palsy is cerebral palsy. As long as it's not my child, hurry up. I'm already annoyed thinking that I'm carrying a daughter, and you're still here nagging me." The next second, I heard the electronic voice of the system announcing the termination of the fetus swap. Linda left satisfied, and before she went, she grinned at me. "Luna, your good days are coming soon. Congratulations." I thought I was hallucinating, but after the child was born, I realized that what happened that day was real. The prenatal checkups showed no issues at all, yet the child was born with severe cerebral palsy. Linda put on a show of shedding tears by the child's hospital bed. "Oh, it's a boy. What a shame he has severe cerebral palsy. Luna, you'll have your hands full for the rest of your life." But as soon as she turned away, I saw the smug and gloating smile on her face. I heard her inner thoughts, TSK, if I hadn't terminated the system, Luna, that PhD, and her PhD husband would definitely have given birth to a highly intelligent child. Where would that leave my pride? Now it's perfect. Two highly intelligent PhDs gave birth to a severely brain-damaged child. They'll definitely be laughed to death. Their whole family will surely fall apart just as the system predicted. I'm looking forward to the show. Furious, I slapped her across the face, but since only I could hear her thoughts, Linda falsely accused me of bullying her out of jealousy for her having a healthy child. In the end, Linda posted the video of me slapping her online. I suffered long-term cyberbullying and, unable to bear the pressure, developed depression. In a daze, I eventually jumped off a building with my severely brain-damaged son in my arms. My husband also died of depression after our deaths. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my sister-in-law and I walked out of the gender notification room. Linda snatched my gender notification slip. "How is it a girl?" Then she immediately snatched back the protective jade she had given me earlier, intending to terminate the fetus exchange just like in the previous life. However, in this life, I firmly pressed down on the jade and said to Linda, "Oh, sister-in-law, you've got the wrong report. Look, although the pregnant woman's name is also Luna, she's 37 years old. Clearly not me." Linda glanced at the report and said, "Hey, you're right. Hurry, go get your report and see if it's a boy in there." Then I heard her say to the system, "Wait, the fetal notification slip is wrong. Don't terminate it yet." I sneered inwardly. It was only later that I found out in my previous life she had secretly bribed the doctor during my prenatal checkup and learned the gender of my baby in advance. I just didn't expect that when it came to the final gender confirmation, my gender notification slip was mistaken. But in this life, I won't let this mistake happen. In this life, I want Linda to suffer the tragedy of my family's destruction from my previous life. No, it must be even worse than my previous life. Look, it's a boy. I showed the gender notification letter I had just received to Linda. "Ah, great, it's a boy." Linda immediately put that miscarriage-preventing jade back on my wrist. I heard the system ask, "Host, do you still want to terminate the fetus-swapping system?" Linda said fiercely, "Are you blind? Didn't you see on the gender notification that Luna is carrying a boy? Quickly and officially activate the fetus-swapping system and transfer the son in her belly into mine right now." The system was about to start when Linda waved her hand again. "Wait, My heart skipped a beat. Was she going to change her mind again? It turned out that Linda was worried she might end up raising someone else's son, so she double-checked. System, hold on, I have one more question. After the fetus swap, if a genetic test is done later, won't it show that it's Luna's son? Then I'd be at a huge loss. The system replied, host, rest assured, once the swap is successful, within 3 seconds, the fetus will inherit you and your husband's genes and lineage, transforming into your biological son, and this baby girl of yours will also be transformed into Luna's biological daughter. Good, then start it immediately. Linda eagerly gave the command. Soon, I heard the system's confirmation message. Dear host, the fetus exchange system has been successfully activated. You have completed the fetus swap with Luna and now successfully have a son. Then I heard Linda's ecstatic inner thoughts. Linda, am going to have a son. Luna, you wretched woman, you gave birth to a worthless daughter, you won't be able to hold your head up, and everyone will laugh at you. But she didn't know that my husband Simon and I had always wanted a daughter. In our previous life, we prayed to the gods every day for this. On the day I received the gender confirmation report, I immediately called my husband Simon. He took time off work that very day and flew back from abroad. I want to be the first to kiss my little darling. Even then, the daughter we thought we had was still only in the womb. In this life, we have finally gotten our wish, and we will spoil this little one to no end. As for Linda's family, they will live in the hell we experienced in our previous life. After the fetal exchange system succeeded, Linda immediately went for a paternity test. This time, her notice said it was a boy. Since my mother-in-law was waiting for the results at home, Linda and I went back together. How did it go for both daughters-in-law? My mother-in-law looked full of anticipation. Linda threw the appraisal report on the table with great confidence. Mom, I'm carrying a precious boy, you promised. If it's a boy, you'd give me $100,000. Her mother-in-law took a look and, seeing it was indeed a boy, immediately beamed with joy. Great, a boy is wonderful, I'll transfer $100,000 right away. Shortly after, Linda's phone dinged, and she received $100,000. What about you, Luna? Her mother-in-law turned to me expectantly. You're a PhD, after all. If you have a son, he's definitely going to Tsinghua or Peking University in the future. Before I could even speak, Linda said, she's having a worthless daughter. Luna, don't be upset, a daughter is quite good too. When she gets married, you can get at least $100,000 in bride price. It's not a loss. Linda grinned, ready to see me embarrassed. To my surprise, I grinned and said, Sis, you better hold on tight to that $100,000 Mom gave you tonight. After all, it won't be long before you not only empty out this $100,000, but also drain the entire savings you and my brother have built up over more than a decade. By then, you'll surely be grateful to that precious son of yours in your belly. Seeing that I wasn't ashamed of having a daughter but instead was being sarcastic, Linda stomped her feet in anger. Luna, you're just jealous that I'm having a son and cursing me. I shrugged and said, why would I curse you? Of course, I'm wishing you and your precious son a lifetime of happiness together. Seeing me say this, my mother-in-law comforted me. If it's a daughter, then it's a daughter. Both you and Simon are PhDs, so the daughter you have won't be bad at all. When the time comes, we'll raise her well, and she can marry into a good family. That would be considered a task accomplished. I immediately retorted, Mom, who says that having a daughter and marrying her off is considered a task accomplished? My daughter, if she wants to marry in the future, she can. If she doesn't want to, Simon and I can support her for the rest of our lives, our own precious daughter. Of course we'll cherish her. If you favor boys over girls and look down on my daughter, then I might as well not come home for the new year next year. Linda puffed up her throat. I'd be more than happy if you didn't come back for the new year. Our Song family has the big, healthy grandson in my belly, who would still care about your worthless girl. I sneered. No wonder you never go back to your parents' home for the new year. It turns out your own mother doesn't care about you. The worthless one. Seeing us arguing, my mother-in-law quickly took out a $100 red envelope and handed it to me. I don't mean to look down on the daughter in your belly, but your sister-in-law is carrying a boy. According to tradition, her child will inherit our Song family's property. This $100 is a token of my affection. Take it and buy some clothes, milk powder, or toys for the child. I sneered and pushed the $100 back. Then added another $10 and handed it to my mother-in-law. Mom, this is from my daughter to you. Use it to buy a house and a car, and take my sister-in-law and the child in her belly out for a good time. If there's any money left, buy yourself a few more sets of clothes. and if there's still some left, just burn the remaining money for me." Then, I walked away without looking back, and as I left, I said, "You think that just because you have a chubby grandson, my daughter isn't worthy of using the Song family's money? It doesn't matter, there will come a day when you beg me to come back. At that time, whether I agree to support you in your old age will depend on my and my daughter's mood." Then, with a toss of her head, she slammed the door and left. When my husband Simon came back and found out about this, he was so angry that he wanted to confront his mother. I stopped him. "Forget it. If your mother doesn't like our daughter, we'll just love her ourselves." Instead of blaming his mother, Simon felt even more guilty and loving towards me and our daughter. I used to give half of my salary to my in-laws every month, but later I simply stopped giving them any money at all. Giving it to them is just a waste. Who knows, it might all end up going to my sister-in-law. From now on, all the money I earn will be for my wife and precious daughter. To be honest, the reason I'm so forgiving is that I know in my past life, even though I had a son, after he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, my mother-in-law never cared about our family again. Instead, she gave all her resources to Linda's family. After all, who would hope for a severely disabled grandson to carry on the family line? So in this life, Linda's clever plan completely backfired. Since the child hasn't been born yet, her in-laws gave Linda $100,000 but didn't continue to provide money afterward, though they never skimped on good food and drink. Eldest sister-in-law Linda was well-fed and plump, and she would tell everyone she met, "They say that when a woman is pregnant with a son, she becomes more beautiful. Oh my, the son in my belly is surely a dragon among men. In the future, our family is bound to rise to greatness and make a fortune." Eldest brother, that is, Linda's husband Tom, also boasted everywhere that he would have a son who would get into Tsinghua or Peking University. He even said that with a son, he could sit back and enjoy a life of wealth and luxury in his later years. My mom said that as long as my son is born safely, she will have my brother and his wife move out of the household registration, and all the money from the demolition will go to my son. These days, nothing compares to having a big, healthy baby boy. It wasn't until I was about to die in my previous life that I found out the baby swapping system was an idea my eldest brother Tom and Linda came up with together. Both of them wanted to have a son to inherit all of the Song family's wealth and then live a life of financial freedom, so each of them sacrificed 5 years of their lifespan to exchange for this system. This malicious couple had no idea that their lives were about to be utterly miserable. Just as this couple was flaunting their son every day, my sister-in-law and I both went into labor at the same time, with my parents taking care of me around the clock and my husband Simon by my side day and night. Even the doctor praised my daughter's beauty during the 3D ultrasound. Sure enough, on the day she was born, everyone was captivated by my daughter. She really looks like a little princess. Look at those big, sparkling eyes, and her skin is so delicate. Everyone was full of praise, and Simon's eyes crinkled with laughter, but he didn't forget to compliment me while praising our daughter. "Honey, I'd say our daughter is so beautiful because she takes after you." He was so careful, as if he had found a beautiful little angel. Our family of 5 gathered around the little baby, singing and laughing joyfully, creating an incredibly heartwarming scene, while our side was filled with warmth. Next door in Linda's ward, a burst of abusive yelling erupted. "What the hell did you give birth to? I've been taking care of you all year, giving you the best food and drinks, not smoking even once, not playing cards even once. At 2 a.m., you said you wanted spicy hot pot, and I got up right away to buy it for you. At 5 a.m., you said you wanted boiled fish, and I cooked it for you immediately, and in the end, you gave birth to this thing." Then came Linda's pleading voice, "Honey, no matter what, he's still a son with a future. He's not a son. You gave birth to a severely brain-damaged child, one who can't speak or move, a living corpse for life. Linda, there's nothing wrong with our family's genes. Tell me, did you cheat on me?" Slap slap, 2 loud slaps. "You hit me, Tom. I gave birth to your son, and you dare lay a hand on me, I'll fight you to the death." Then I heard Tom scream, "Let go, Linda, you crazy woman, you actually bit so hard. Damn it, doctor, come quick and save me. This crazy woman bit my ear off. Hurry up and get me surgery. I can't become an old man with only one ear." Tom ran like a madman down the hallway and was eventually taken to the emergency room by the crowd. Just as I was about to ask Simon to lock the door, Linda had already appeared at the entrance of the ward like a wild beast gone mad. She was holding her severely brain-damaged son in her arms and said to me through gritted teeth, "Luna, this is your damn child. I want you to give back the daughter who rightfully belongs to me." After saying that, Linda fiercely pounced on me. Just as Linda rushed in frantically, an even crazier woman also charged in at that moment. As soon as she entered, she grabbed Linda's hair fiercely and immediately slapped her across the face. I saw clearly who it was. It was my mother-in-law, who had rushed over upon hearing the news. "You wretched woman, you've got some nerve, daring to hit your own husband. The husband is the wife's sky, and you actually dared to strike your own sky. You even bit off your sky's ear. Enough of that, you still have time to cause trouble at your second daughter-in-law's place. Hurry up and go take care of your husband." Linda was stunned by her mother-in-law Molly's 2 lightning-fast slaps. Both cheeks immediately swelled up, but she quickly snapped back to her senses and threw her cerebral palsy-afflicted son to the ground. "Fine, I just got slapped by your son. And now I'm being hit by you, you old hag. Just watch me scratch your face to shreds today." Linda forgot that she was supposed to swap children with me. She changed her target and lunged at her mother-in-law's hair. After all, the mother-in-law was older, and Linda's claw quickly struck her face, leaving a bright red scratch that immediately made her left cheek look disheveled. But the mother-in-law didn't hold back with her words. "You wretched woman, you deserve to be hit. Just look at what you gave birth to." Tom was right. Our family has good genes. It's impossible for us to have a severely brain-damaged child. Who knows which shameless man you had this with? Protective of her own, the mother-in-law grew angrier as she spoke. "Give me back the $100,000 reward I gave you for having a son. I want Tom to divorce you and marry someone else. As for this foolish thing you gave birth to, our Song family doesn't want it. You take it with you." Linda also looked at the child with anger. "Fine, let's get divorced, but I don't want this child. He is the bloodline of your Song family, so he must stay with the Songs." At this moment, Tom had just undergone emergency surgery. He stormed into the ward furiously. "Linda, you disfigured me and cheated on me. I won't take this child. We'll get divorced right away. You can keep the child with your lover." As he spoke, he kicked his own biological son, and the baby's head immediately swelled. Just as Tom was about to kick again, a system's voice echoed simultaneously in both Linda and Tom's minds. "Hosts, I must remind you that the boy you exchanged from Luna must live to the same age as in his previous life. If the boy dies, both of you will be erased as well." "What? This child is supposed to live the same life as in the previous lifetime. Well then, tell me, how old did this brain-dead idiot live to be in the previous life?" Linda thought to herself. "According to the rules, although only one child is allowed in this world, if the child is born with severe disabilities, the couple can have another child after the first one dies. Someone like Luna and Simon, both doctors, would never be willing to raise a brain-dead child for a lifetime. They would definitely find ways to get rid of this child." She thought, "If he lives past the age of 1, I'll consider it my loss." However, the system informed her, "According to the records, your son lived to be 12 years old in the previous life. Please be sure to follow the system's rules. Otherwise, if your son dies before the age of 12, both hosts will be completely erased." As soon as the system spoke, Tom was so frightened that he immediately held the child in his arms and cried out for the doctor to save him. The doctor rushed into the ward and, upon seeing the badly injured child, made an immediate decision. "Initial assessment suggests a head injury. Emergency surgery is needed. You need to go pay $100,000 right away to complete the hospitalization process." When Linda heard about the payment, her face turned pale. "Doctor, why does it cost so much? I only kicked him a few times. A boy shouldn't be that fragile, right?" The doctor looked at her as if she were insane. "A boy? This is just a baby. What's more, he has severe cerebral palsy and an underdeveloped respiratory system. He'll need a lot of equipment. Hurry up and get ready, or we won't be able to perform the surgery." But Linda just stood there dumbfounded. Tom thought she was stunned by the system's words and gave her a hard push. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and pay. If the child dies, we'll both be dead." But Linda still didn't move. This time, her tone softened, and she stammered, "I don't have the money. I transferred the $100,000 Mom gave me to my brother." "What?" Tom was absolutely furious upon hearing Linda's words. "You damned brother-obsessed maniac, you actually used my money to help your brother out. I'm really going to be ruined by you." Linda didn't back down either. "What do you mean I'm ruining you? It's just $100,000. Didn't I just transfer $500,000 to you the other day? Forget about buying a house for now. Hurry up and pay the medical bills." But this time, it was Tom who didn't move. "Go on, then, you're a grown man. Surely you know how to pay the bills, don't you?" At this moment, it was Tom's turn to stammer. "That money, I lost it all. What? Linda trembled with anger, pointing at Tom's nose and shouting, I really misjudged you, believing your nonsense. You told me you were going to buy an internal quota apartment. But it turns out you went gambling again, didn't you? Fine. If there's no money for treatment, let that cerebral palsy patient die, and we might as well both die too. The doctor came out again and asked, have you paid the money? There are 5 minutes left. If there's no money, we'll perform the surgery on another patient. Tom quickly nodded and bowed. Right away, right away. After saying that, a thought crossed his mind. Isn't there still my mother? We gave her a grandson. Even though he has cerebral palsy, he's still a son, right? He's the continuation of the Song family line, isn't he? Tom thought that as long as the child was a boy, his mother-in-law would do whatever he said, but in reality, she would prefer a healthy granddaughter over a grandson with severe cerebral palsy. In my previous life, I had already experienced her cold-heartedness toward her own family, to avoid us borrowing money from her, in the previous life. My mother-in-law cut ties with us directly and gave all the money to Linda's family. Simon and I sold our house and car to pay for our child's treatment, simply because a child's life is precious from the moment they enter this world, and we hoped he would have the chance to experience the beauty and happiness of life. However, the long-term cyberbullying and the pressure of treating our child eventually broke me. Even after my death, my mother-in-law refused to spend a single penny on us. So in this life, the mother-in-law definitely didn't treat Tom's family, who had a grandson with cerebral palsy, well either. Sure enough, as soon as Tom asked for money, the mother-in-law immediately put on a stern face, treating that child with cerebral palsy. Don't even think about it. And when are you going to pay back the 100,000 I gave you? Tom didn't expect his mother-in-law to turn on him so quickly. He asked in confusion, Mom, I'm your own son. And that child is your own grandson after all. How can you just stand by and do nothing? To my surprise, my mother-in-law didn't even glance at Tom. From today on, Molly, have only one granddaughter, you, your wife, and that child can get as far away from here as possible. Tom was so angry he could barely stand, trembling as he raised his finger and cursed at his mother-in-law. You old hag. But what good is cursing? It won't get him any money. At that moment, Linda also walked in. At this moment, she had no intention of fighting for the child anymore. All she wanted was to get $100,000 for her son's surgery, to prevent the child from dying and herself from being erased. So, did you manage to borrow the money? Linda's first words to Tom were about the money. No, Mom turned her back on me, saying we shouldn't expect a single penny from her. What about your side? Tom was asking about Linda's brother, whether he agreed to return the money. Little did he know. The first thing Linda's brother said when he answered the phone was, Sis, how can you take back the money that was given? Linda was dumbfounded. Leo, I'm just taking back my own money. What's wrong with that? Besides, this is life-saving money. Without this $100,000, not only will my son die, but I will too. Even in this situation, you still refuse to return it to me. Leo chuckled and said, I've heard all about it, sis. You gave birth to a severely brain-damaged child. So there's no point in treating it, right? It would just be a waste of money. Why not just buy me a house instead? I'd remember you fondly for it, and when I have a son in the future, I can even take care of you in your old age. Linda was furious, unable to get the money from her brother. She called her own mother and asked her to demand the money from Leo. However, as soon as Linda's mother heard that she wanted the $100,000 back, she immediately sided with her son, Leo. You've already given it to him, and now you want it back. What kind of sister are you? If I say it out loud, people will just laugh at me. Linda had no other choice. She said, since you're not willing to return the $100,000 to me, Mom, can I borrow it from you instead? If I don't have that $100,000 to save that person with cerebral palsy, I'll really die. Mom, I'm not lying to you. Linda thought to herself that her own life was on the line. Surely her own mother wouldn't just stand by and do nothing. But when Linda's mother heard that her daughter wanted to borrow money from her, she said without hesitation, your brother is buying a house, and all the money has been given to him. I was actually planning to ask you for money to cover my living expenses, and here you are, asking to borrow $100,000 from me. I have no money to give you. If you want my life, take it. After saying that, she hung up. Linda said to Tom, my brother refuses to pay back the money, and my mom won't lend us any either. It looks like we'll have to borrow from a loan shark. But when Linda opened various loan apps, she realized she had already been blacklisted. She glared at Tom through gritted teeth and asked, what's going on? Tom finally confessed that he hadn't lost 500,000, but 5 million. I've borrowed from everyone I could, there's nowhere left for us to get money. Tom crouched down, holding his head. It's all your fault, insisting on that gender selection system. We had a perfectly healthy daughter, but you had to swap her for a son with cerebral palsy. Not only did we fail to get the money, but now we might even lose our lives. Why did I ever marry such an unlucky woman like you? Linda looked at Tom and said weakly, what's the use of complaining? We should focus on how to get the money, or we'll soon be meeting the king of hell. Just as they were in despair, lying on the hospital bed, finally seized the moment to speak. Need money? I can help you. You, Luna, will help me. Linda was the first to question. It must be said, her skepticism was justified. I certainly didn't have good intentions. Of course, there's one condition for helping you. All 3 of your family members must move your household registration out. I'll transfer 100,000 to you immediately. In my previous life, the compensation for that homestead demolition was 14 million, based on the per-person allocation. Our household, Simon and I, should have received 6 million, but because I was cyberbullied by Linda and Tom and developed depression, I couldn't hold on and jumped off a building with my son a year before the demolition. My husband, devastated by the loss of us, also died of depression. So, in the end, Linda and Tom easily inherited our share, used the 14 million to buy a villa and a luxury car. To become wealthier, they even forced their own daughter to marry a coal tycoon in his 60s when she turned 18, a man notorious for collecting virgins. And the reason Linda and Tom did this was solely to fulfill their desire to earn more money and have a son, because, in this world, 50 million can buy a system to have a son. Tom and Linda traded their daughter's virginity for a new energy company, which brought them immense wealth, and they eventually used the system to have a son, completely disregarding that their own daughter was used by the coal boss and then discarded like trash, ultimately dying tragically on the streets. Just thinking about it breaks my heart for my daughter from my past life. They simply don't deserve to be parents. As soon as Linda heard that I wanted them to move their household registration out, she immediately started yelling, Luna, you're thinking too beautifully. If the 3 of us move our household registrations out, it would be like your family taking all the demolition compensation. Everyone estimates our compensation to be 2 million per person. You, Luna, want to take 14 million all by yourself. Do you think we're fools? Tom's face also darkened. Luckily Linda is here. Or I would have fallen for your trick. It's just $100,000, right? I don't believe I can't borrow it. I remained calm. Sure, as long as you can borrow it, but, I pursed my lips and glanced at the doctor walking in from outside. You probably don't have much time left. Sure enough, the very next moment, the doctor issued the final ultimatum. One last minute. If there's no money, our doctors will move on to the next surgery. I'm sorry, but your child will only be left to face death. Just as the doctor turned to leave, Tom finally gave in. I'll sign. Linda stopped him. That's a demolition house worth over 10 million. How can you just give it up like that? Tom spread his hands. Then you come up with a solution. Linda was completely at a loss for ideas and could only watch helplessly as Tom signed the agreement I had prepared in advance, with a demolition house worth tens of millions now secured. I gleefully tucked away the agreement and watched as Linda and Tom, their faces ashen, walked out of the hospital room. Next, it's time to witness their entire lives being tormented by a child with severe cerebral palsy. However, what happened next was completely beyond my expectations. When I was discharged from the hospital holding my adorable daughter, Tom and Linda were still running around busily in the hospital. The child who had been switched at birth had to stay in the ICU due to severe injuries. The $100,000 I gave them was long gone on the surgery. The daily medical expenses in the ICU cost over $3,000, and Tom kept complaining, we have no choice but to sell the house, Linda said with a pained expression. Linda and Tom used to run a small food stall and made quite a bit of money, so they had already bought a house while Simon and I were still pursuing our PhDs. Tom stammered and finally confessed, well, the house has already been mortgaged by me. Linda was so angry she almost spat blood. You're pushing us to the brink, aren't you? You just won't give up, will you? Tom covered his head. I owed so much money. How else could they lend me $1 million to gamble if I didn't mortgage the house? Linda was completely at a loss. She thought of me again. I'll just borrow from Luna. I answered the phone. I don't have money to lend. But I do have a way for you to get 300,000 all at once. Linda's eyes lit up immediately. Tell me, how can we get 300,000? I chuckled. It was time to cut them down, piece by piece. I have a senior colleague who is involved in human research. They offer 300,000 for one kidney, so, between you and your brother, who is willing to donate one to save your son, on the other end of the phone, I heard Tom say, I'm a man, I can't live without a kidney, you're a woman, you go. Linda scolded him from the other side, look at you, what kind of man are you, having a kidney or not doesn't affect you, if it weren't for your gambling, we wouldn't be short on money for our son's treatment. The doctor's voice could also be heard, Linda, Tom, you need to pay for your son's medical expenses, otherwise, we'll have to move him out of the ICU in 3 days, I said slowly on the other end of the phone. Take your time to think it over, but let me tell you. There are too many people short on money these days. I'm only telling you this because we're relatives. Once the donation quota is filled, we won't accept any more. Oh, by the way, I asked my senior brother, and they're only accepting 2 more donations. It's up to you whether you want to donate or not. After saying that, I hung up the phone. Now, if their son can survive, they can survive. What's the loss of a kidney, after all? Sure enough, less than 10 minutes after I hung up the phone, Linda called. Tom and I have discussed it, fair and square. We'll each donate 1 kidney. That makes 600,000, right? I smiled faintly. Then I'll just take both of yours. I'll talk to my senior brother right now. 3 days later, both Tom and Linda became single kidney individuals. Their son, born through a surrogate pregnancy, survived by stepping on their lives and blood. Tom and Linda finally breathed a sigh of relief, but they never expected that this was only the beginning. Just like in their previous life, a child with this level of cerebral palsy required 24-hour supervision because the child's ability to breathe independently was very poor, and there was a risk of suffocation if not carefully monitored. In my previous life, Simon and I took turns, and in less than 3 months, all our hair turned white. In this life, Simon and I don't have that worry anymore. Our daughter is super well behaved, sleeping soundly every day. As if she knows we suffered a lot in our past life, sleeping through the whole night. Every day after work, Simon comes home to feed our daughter, change her diapers, and give her a bath, and in this lifetime, I can finally get a good night's sleep. No longer do I have to worry about where to get money tomorrow, no longer do I have to worry that my child might leave me in the middle of the night. And Tom and Linda, in less than a week, visibly lost weight. I've really done something terrible. If only I hadn't switched the babies, this dead brain-damaged child would have been Luna's, and she would be the one suffering. I often hear Linda's thoughts, gritting her teeth. I really want to strangle this jinx, but what can I do? If this damn jinx dies, I die too. A miserable life is better than a good death. I just have to hold on for 12 years. Once that damn kid turns 12, I'll strangle this cursed child. I also often hear Tom's thoughts, filled with deep hatred. But they really have no other choice but to think about and exchange their daughter. Because the first 12 years of their lives have been tied to this child, and my girl, under the doting care of me, Simon, and her grandparents, grew up very healthy and happy. When she was 12 years old, one day, she suddenly hugged me and said, Mom, I had a really scary dream. I held her close and heard her whisper in my ear. I dreamed that in my past life, I was the daughter of my uncle and aunt. They dressed me up beautifully, just like you and Dad, sent me to the best schools to study, learn music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and practice horseback riding and golf. As she spoke, my daughter began to cry, but later, when I grew up, they gave me to a really disgusting old man. He did terrible, terrible things to me, and then I died. The snow was so heavy that day. Mom, you've raised us to be so beautiful. Are you going to give me to that grandpa too? My heart ached when I heard this. I held my daughter tightly and told her, Sweetie, that is indeed a scary dream. Mom and Dad can assure you that you will always be your own person. No one can give you away to someone else. You are the most amazing girl, and only you can decide your own life. But when you feel scared or helpless, always remember that Mom, Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma will always be your strongest support. Mom loves you. My daughter's tears soaked my shoulder. I heard her murmur softly in her sleep, Mom, it's so wonderful to be your daughter in this lifetime. The daughter has grown more and more graceful, and Linda and Tom have finally made it through 12 years, because I heard the system's voice once again. Congratulations to both hosts. Since the swapped child has lived to the same age as in the previous life, the restriction that you would be erased once the child dies no longer exists. However, this life is different. This child will live half a year longer than in their previous life. I hope both hosts will treat them well. As soon as the system's voice faded, I heard Tom say viciously, "That damn thing tormented me for 12 years, losing a kidney was one thing, but to keep him alive, I haven't had a full night's sleep in all that time. I had to manually remove his waste and use a catheter to drain his urine, and that's not all. I had to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. If it weren't for the fact that I'd die if he did, I would have killed him long ago." Linda also gritted her teeth and said, "The days of taking care of this damn vegetable are finally over. How on earth did Luna manage to keep him alive until he was 12 in her past life? If it weren't for the system's warning, I would have ended him before he was even a month old. Now it's all over, but switching bodies nearly cost me my own life. For the past 12 years, I haven't gone shopping even once, to save money. I gave all the nutritional supplements to that damn vegetable and ended up scavenging for rotten leaves and garbage at the market to eat. I was worse off than a beggar. At least beggars can beg for money during the day and sleep at night. I haven't had a single proper night's sleep in 12 damn years. Finally, I'm free." I thought that given Linda and Tom's character, they might just abandon this child with cerebral palsy, so I planned to find a nursing home for the child with cerebral palsy. After all, he was once in my womb. However, just as I was about to take action, I discovered that Linda and Tom had started a live stream with the child with cerebral palsy. The name of the live stream was, "Save My Child with Cerebral Palsy," but because of severe cerebral palsy, the child was almost like a vegetable, unable to cry or laugh, so the live stream didn't have much appeal. The few scattered netizens commented, "What's the point of live streaming a child sleeping, exactly? There's nothing special about this, I'm so bored," until one day, Linda discovered a new world. As long as she pricked the fingertips of that child with cerebral palsy with a pin, the child would cry loudly. Thus, the couple found the key to gaining traffic. Tom specifically obtained a medical certificate for severe cerebral palsy from the hospital, while Linda sat in front of the camera holding the child. On the surface, she appears to be a gentle mother, but behind the scenes, she pricks her own son's fingertips with a needle just to gain more views. Although this child has severe cerebral palsy, his crying is truly heartbreaking. He probably wants to live too. Let's all come together and send more rockets to save them. By pricking his fingers and toes, Linda and Tom's live stream viewership skyrocketed. Even I, who rarely use TikTok, came across their live stream. But as the mother of a child with cerebral palsy in my previous life, I could tell at a glance that something was wrong with the child. A child with severe cerebral palsy wouldn't cry at all without external stimulation. I suggest Linda and Tom stop harming the child. Some netizens accused me, "Who are you? The child has severe cerebral palsy, not a vegetative state. Isn't it normal for them to cry?" Checked her profile. It seems her family had a girl. Could it be that she's jealous of others having a son? This woman is just too malicious. Even though the other person had a son, there's nothing wrong with wanting to earn money through live streaming to treat his illness, right? In today's world, there really are envious people everywhere. Judging by her daughter's attire, her family seems quite well off, yet she's criticizing a mother with a child suffering from cerebral palsy for doing live streams. Fans from Linda's live stream room have been sending me private messages to curse at me. Linda found that confronting me could attract more traffic, so she directly came at me in her live stream. That ID accusing me of harming my own son is actually my sister-in-law. Back when my son needed surgery and we needed $100,000, do you know what she demanded? She insisted that my husband, son, and I, all three of us, had to move our household registrations out before she would lend us the money. Her statement immediately caused a huge uproar online. More and more netizens flooded into her live stream. Wow, she's actually the kind of woman who kicks someone when they're down. So vicious, taking advantage of the situation to monopolize the demolition compensation. No wonder the family is so wealthy. This is how the money came about. Everyone, expose her address so we can send wreaths to her home. Linda, you must keep streaming more often to earn more money and make that woman furious. Exactly. She must be jealous of the money you make from streaming. Just keep streaming with your son to earn more. We support you, Mom Lynn. Do you need our help? Tell me her address, and we'll go splash paint on her place. On one hand, Linda hypocritically said to let it go, that as mothers, women shouldn't make things difficult for each other, and that she just wanted to earn more money to treat my son with cerebral palsy. On the other hand, she used a secondary account to post my home address in the comments, intending to stir up a cyberbullying storm like in the previous life. However, she doesn't realize that the more she stands in the eye of public opinion, the closer she is to death, because, after learning about what she did to that child with cerebral palsy, I had already thought of using online public opinion to punish her, to make her die from cyberbullying, just like I did in my previous life. So, when Linda's live stream reached its peak popularity, I connected with her live. Seeing that it was me who connected, Linda's expression turned a bit unpleasant. She wanted to end the live stream, but the platform then displayed a prompt. This is an official live stream organized by the All China Women's Federation. If you stop broadcasting midway, all previous earnings on the platform will be reclaimed. Linda had no choice but to force a smile and play along. Sister-in-law, I heard that because you've been taking care of your severely brain-damaged child for 12 years, you were named a national good mother and praised by the All China Women's Federation for promoting the experience of caring for children with cerebral palsy. I'm really happy for you, but may I ask if you could show your son's fingers to the audience in a live stream? Linda's face turned pale. My son is afraid of the cold, especially his hands and feet, which are never exposed. This is the main reason he has been able to live healthily until now. I smiled slightly, but I received a report accusing you of abusing your child to gain attention. How do you explain this rumor? Tom appeared on camera. We stand upright and fear no shadow. Some people are just jealous of our current popularity and want to bring us down. I hope all netizens will not believe the rumors. I presented the explanation letters issued by major medical authorities. As a medical doctor, I have consulted experts from various fields to evaluate a child with this level of cerebral palsy. Without strong external stimuli, he is incapable of reactions such as crying or laughing. Given the credibility of the sources, the staff from the Women's Federation advised Linda, how about this? We'll adjust the temperature in the live broadcast room to 30 degrees now. That way, it should be safe for the child to expose his hands and feet, if the child shows no issues. Wouldn't that be the perfect way to put an end to the rumors? Moreover, it could demonstrate that the medical field isn't always entirely accurate. Isn't the purpose of this live broadcast to educate the public about the treatment and recovery of children with cerebral palsy? After saying this, the temperature in the live broadcast room was immediately adjusted. All eyes were fixed on the couple, Linda and Tom. Netizens also commented, yeah, just show everyone the hands and feet. It's not a big deal. Didn't they say before that the gloves and foot covers are changed every day? They can change them even in a drafty house, so it shouldn't be a problem to take them off for a quick look. Always hiding things like this. Could it be that they really have something to hide? Linda was left with no choice. Her face turned pale, and she suddenly began to convulse all over. Tom immediately understood. I'm sorry. My wife has been taking care of our child with cerebral palsy for so many years, and her health is poor. She's having a seizure and needs to rest right away. Let's pause the live stream. However, they didn't know that I, as a guest, was in the live stream and had long anticipated they would pull this kind of stunt. I didn't expose them earlier because I wanted to use this platform, visible to netizens nationwide, to strip them of their disguises. I guarantee in my capacity as a medical doctor that Ms. Lin is not having a seizure. How could someone's eyes dart around so alertly during an epileptic episode? I asked the staff to wipe away the saliva Linda had deliberately drooled, then stepped forward, crouched down in front of the child with cerebral palsy, and carefully removed both gloves. The child's 10 fingers were covered in countless tiny holes. Oh, that's terrifying. Look at his hands, they're really full of holes. And they all seem to have been poked right through the fingernails. It looks painful. No wonder that child with cerebral palsy was crying. It turns out it was a reaction to external stimulation. Then, I took off the child's socks. The entire toes and soles of the feet are covered in dense needle marks. Look, this child's feet are almost rotting away. I suddenly realized that the situation might be far more serious than I had imagined, so I lifted the child's chest and back again. It was all needle marks, some even with large steel nails driven in. This is too cruel and bloody. Wasn't the live stream supposed to be for treating the child? Is this how you treat someone? But it's strange, if they wanted to harm their own son, why wait until he was 12 to start? Shouldn't they have acted earlier if they wanted to kill him? At this moment, a medical team had already been arranged in the live stream to attend to the child. Linda and Tom collapsed to the ground. Trembling uncontrollably, I lifted Linda's chin. Will you tell, or should I? Then I pinched Tom's chin. Or should you, the spineless man, be the one to speak? Seeing me so aggressive, Linda went crazy on the spot. Luna, it's all your fault. If you hadn't said you were carrying a boy, would I have switched pregnancies with you? Would I have suffered these 12 years of misery? For 12 years, I've lived a life worse than death. Now that I've finally made it through, I want to win back the life I lost. Is that wrong? As soon as she spoke, the netizens exploded. Pregnancy switching system, what does that mean? Did Linda and Luna switch pregnancies? At this point, I finally smiled. Since Linda has admitted it herself, let me explain to everyone. Back then, in order to have a son, she switched pregnancies with me, but she didn't know that the child in my womb had cerebral palsy. Linda and Tom wanted to kill the child, but they discovered that the system's rule was that if this child didn't live to 12 years old like in the previous life, they would be erased, so they had no choice but to grit their teeth and endure. Last month, after the child turned 12, the system lifted their erasure threat and informed them that the child's lifespan had changed. This time, he had only 6 months left to live. Linda and Tom then came up with the idea of making money by live streaming their son with cerebral palsy. But since the child doesn't cry or make a fuss, they couldn't attract viewers, so they resorted to such a cruel method. Linda, Tom, do you think what I said is right? Linda stubbornly insisted. All of this is just your imagination, the words come from your mouth, so you can say whatever you want. However, I took out a USB drive and inserted it into the live broadcast screen. Over the years, whenever I could hear your thoughts, all those scenes were stored in here. Whether I'm talking nonsense or not, everyone will see for themselves. And so, everyone heard Linda and Tom's innermost thoughts through the live broadcast. We really lost out on this one. I originally wanted Luna to give birth to a worthless daughter, but who knew she was carrying a severely brain-damaged child? If I could do it over, I'd rather have a daughter than this jinx. If it weren't for the system's threat of elimination, I'd kill this brain-damaged brat. 12 years. Just endure 12 years, and we'll be free. Anyway, 12 years have passed, and this child's life or death is no longer our concern. Why don't we use him for a live stream? I felt a deep sadness. It's a shame the inner thought stopped here. Otherwise I wouldn't have waited until now to discover the cruel things they did to this child. Whether Linda and Tom are good parents or not, I think everyone has a clear idea by now. At this point, a netizen asked me a question, just now in the inner voice. What did they mean by saying that having 50 million would be enough? I stopped in my tracks, because with 50 million, they could buy a son-bearing system to fulfill their dream of having a son, in an instant. Everyone was in an uproar. I continued, in this world, it is clearly women who nurture everything like the earth, yet some people will stop at nothing just to have a son. First, they used a gender-swapping system to replace a child that was never theirs, and even after facing retribution, they showed no remorse. Then, they abused their own son for live-streaming profits, using money to make deals with the system to keep having sons. I just want to ask the world. Is having a son really that important? Can women not inherit family property? Are women really like spilled water once they marry into another family? Do women really have to be exceptionally outstanding to earn the right to be recorded in the family genealogy? All these barriers set for women that I mentioned above are things men are born with and can easily obtain. Are you really going to continue turning a blind eye to these inequalities? My 5 consecutive questions left the live stream in complete silence. The viewers' comments on the screen actually came to a standstill at the same time. The whole world was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. I know, that's the sound of a meeting of minds. Just then, my daughter's call came through, unexpectedly. The voice call shared the Bluetooth connection of the electronic screen, and my daughter's sweet voice echoed through the live stream. Mom, for my birthday today, Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma took me on the Ferris wheel. They said you couldn't be with me today because you had something very important to do. I asked Dad, what could be more important than my birthday? Dad said it's because you, Mom, want the whole world to hear your voice. I just secretly watched the live stream on my phone, and I know, Mom, it's not that you want the whole world to hear your voice. You want the whole world to hear the voices of women, Mom. I also want everyone to hear the voices of women. Then, I heard my daughter let go of the receiver, and I could tell it was noisy on the other end. This is LF Boxing Gym. I am the owner here. Your daughter, Mia, has defeated the junior boxing champion in her age group and has become the new season's golden belt holder. The gym owner paused. Your daughter is the first girl to win the championship in her age group since the gym opened. Previously, only boys had won. For a girl to defeat a boy, it's truly something to be proud of. I smiled and said, my daughter doesn't need to defeat anyone, her very existence is my pride. Then I turned my face back to the live stream and spoke the words I had kept buried in my heart for so long to the countless viewers. A woman doesn't need to defeat any man to earn the so-called praise of women are not inferior to men. What I want to say is that, from ancient times to the present, Women have always been yielding to men. It is the unfair distribution of social power that forces women to yield to men. It is the inequality of social resources that forces women to yield to men. I hope everyone can remember tonight that women are already more than enough to hold their own in the world. For the crime of child abuse, Linda and Tom were sentenced to 2 years in prison, as the system had stated. The child indeed passed away naturally a few months later. After Linda and Tom were released from their 2-year prison sentence, they thought they could return to a good life. As a result, netizens would splash paint and send funeral wreaths to their home every day. They had to move and change locations every month, and in the end, they had no choice but to hide in a cave, after living a subhuman, primitive life for a year or two. Just as the two of them thought the situation had gradually calmed down and planned to return to normal life, the system showed up again. The system said right away, "Hosts, it's time for us to truly say goodbye. Eat whatever you want tonight. Have a good meal before you go." Linda cursed. "What nonsense are you talking? We've been through prison and lived like savages in a cave, and just as life was starting to get a little better, you're cursing us to die again." Tom also chimed in. "Exactly, we worked like dogs for that child for 12 years, got nothing out of it, and even ended up in jail. After getting out, we were cyberbullied and had to hide in a cave, eating wild fruits and drinking muddy water every day. We finally managed to prepare to come down and start a new life, and now you're cursing us to die. What a wicked system." However, the system chuckled. "Have you two forgotten? When you bought me, you exchanged your own lifespans for it. I'd say you really are a pair who didn't wish to be born on the same day but are destined to die on the same day. Your lifespans are exactly the same. Go be a ghost couple down below. Oh, and by the way, Dr. Luna asked me to tell you, when you get to the underworld, remember to kneel and apologize to your daughter from your previous life." Linda exclaimed in shock. "Luna told you to tell me. How would she know we bound with you?" The system smiled faintly. "I was bought by Dr. Luna in this lifetime and gifted to the two of you." Linda and Tom finally realized that in this life, the first thing I did after being reborn was to exchange 5 years of my lifespan for the reincarnation system. This system can only be exchanged once per person, meaning that the reincarnation system Linda and Tom have in this life was exchanged and gifted by me. Whether they choose to bind with it or not is beyond my control. However, the ugliness of human nature does not change with reincarnation. They still chose to exchange the system. "What good does this do for you, Luna?" At this point, Linda and Tom were able to communicate with me through the system as a medium. "It doesn't do me any good, but it does good for the child in my womb." After being reborn, the reincarnation system immediately sought me out. I could have used it myself to transfer the child with cerebral palsy to you, but the system told me that if I used 5 years of my lifespan to gift the reincarnation system to you, and if you accepted the system's binding in this life, then not only would the girl who was humiliated, abused, and died on the streets in the previous life become the precious daughter I've always wanted, but the son with cerebral palsy from the previous life could also be reborn as a normal child in the next life. No matter what, I've always regretted not being able to make him a happy child in the previous life. So I immediately agreed to gift the system to you." Linda was taken aback. "So it was you who gifted us the system? How foolish of you to be willing to trade 5 years of your life to save 2 children who aren't worth it." I smiled disdainfully. "I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. When I agreed to trade 5 years of my life for the fetal exchange system to save those 2 children, the system notified me that, due to the power of my good intentions, it exempted me from the life exchange requirement." I chuckled. "So, I didn't have to trade any of my lifespan. In fact, the system even rewarded me with an extra 10 years of life for my virtuous deed." 10 years, Linda exclaimed. "That's impossible. Why does the system favor you? We lose years of life for using the fetal exchange system, but you actually gain them." At this moment, the system's voice of elimination began to sound. "Linda, Tom, your lifespan has reached its limit. In 3, 2, 1, you will be eliminated. We regret to inform you that you will have no chance of rebirth, no afterlife." Following that, the screams of Linda and Tom echoed, accompanied by the system's cold voice. "The system discerns the human heart. A kind heart prolongs life, an evil heart ends it." Dr. Luna, congratulations. Due to your kind heart, an additional 10 years of life have been credited to you. 10 years of life have been credited to your daughter, and the opportunity for rebirth in the next life has been granted to the child you were unable to protect in your previous life. He will surely be a healthy and happy child in the future," the system said. "A year later, I became pregnant with my second child, and the gender notification form showed it was a boy. I knew the system was right, that child had returned. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.